Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from wherever you're joining us from today. My name's Sarah. I'm the Program and Event Manager at the Reactor in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to another Microsoft Reactor Sydney live stream event and an episode of our Devs Down Under series. Today, I've got some special guests with me. I've got Rabia Williams and Barnum Bora. Hi to you both. Today, they will be talking through how to build capabilities for Microsoft Teams. But firstly, just a bit of a background. So Rabia is a cloud developer advocate for Microsoft, focused on Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Graph, a contributing member of the Microsoft 365 patterns and practices teams and maintainer of CLI for Microsoft 365. Barnum leads an amazing team of cloud developer advocates at Microsoft who focus on Microsoft Teams and Graphs. His teams help developers and technology professionals build the best versions of their products and services using the power of the cloud and modern developer experiences. So you'll see just a bit of housekeeping I've put into the Q&A section, our check-in link. So if you could please check in for today, you'll get some additional resources that Rabia and Barnum provided for today. The event code is 14175. We'll also provide you a link to our feedback survey at the end with the same event code 14175. This is going straight to our YouTube live channel after this, so there will be an on-demand version. So if there's anything that you did miss from today, it will be available straight after this. And also, any questions throughout, please put them in the comment section. We'll be talking for about 45 minutes with hopefully about 10 to 15 minutes for questions at the end. So do send them throughout and we'll try and answer as many as possible. But for now, I'd like to hand the floor over to Barnum and Rabia to begin. So over to you both and thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah. And hello, everybody who's watching and tuning in. I know a lot of you are probably in not just Devs Down Under, I would probably say Devs Lockdown Under at this point. So we totally appreciate you spending time with us. And, hopefully our aim today is to just hopefully make it interesting enough so that we can probably ease off some of that cognitive load that everybody's going through, including us, in these difficult times. And we hope all of you are keeping safe and well. Without further ado, we just want to kick it off a little bit. Rabia, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So like Barnum said, thank you so much for joining. It means a lot. I think you've done probably the 50% of what you need to do to get started building capabilities of TeamSAP because you showed up. So thanks for that. So I'm just going to go ahead. As you can see, this is a very good picture and it has a theme, basically. We have a theme today. We want to keep it light for everyone because we've had, tough times. So we're going to have like a fun, a relaxing session where we would have some really good pictures of cats and dogs and demos on cats and dogs. I mean, that sounds amazing, right? So let's jump in. I'll introduce myself first. Like Sarah mentioned already, I'm Rabia Williams and I live in Brisbane. I love open source. I was previously a Microsoft MVP for Office development. Do reach out to me on Twitter as well. And over to you, Barnum. Would you like a quick intro again?
Sure. I live in Melbourne. So as of midnight last night, I am not in lockdown anymore. So this is a great place to be. And I have, I'm just a techie at heart and mind and soul. So I've just got a passion for anything and everything tech. If it's machinery, robots, code, anything ML. I spent a lot of years doing machine learning stuff. So that's me. And like I said, unfortunately, I became a lockdown survival specialist as a new skill, and also got a puppy during COVID time. So that's the first dog you will see on the screen. It's not just a joke. We do have a demo that is kind of themed that way. So so that's about me. I enjoy doing everything tech.
Yes. Also, fun fact. Sorry, I'm just jumping in. But fun fact, Barnum is also my boss, so I'll be in my best behavior today.
Okay. I don't know if that's a fun fact, but let's go ahead anyway.
It's a fun
fact. I don't
ever
think of myself as a boss. Trust me.
Yeah, just kidding. Anyway, so since we brought up the puppy, and you folks probably know by now, we have lots of cats and dogs coming up. We thought, the relation between this demo and these puppies and dogs is basically the idea of a new pet owner. So when COVID struck us last year, we were all working from home. I started working from home for the very first time because of COVID. So things got really lonely and sad, basically, when you're working, when you've been this person who goes out and, gets coffee, go for coffee runs, be with your colleagues. Things got a bit dull. So I got myself a puppy, and I am a new dog owner, by the way. I have no prior experience before having a dog. Of course, we've had dogs before in the family, but who takes care of them? We just play with them, right? So now this is a huge responsibility. And for me, what do I think about this? Like, being a new pet owner and developers who are learning a new dev platform, they have something in common. And I think that's probably the theme we're going in with today. You don't know where to start. I had no idea where to start, because I'll tell you why. So I didn't just get a dog. I got a border collie. So it's a sheep dog, a cattle dog who has tons of energy, and I've got a unit. So you probably know where I'm going with this if you've previously owned dogs and know about their energy and stuff. I had no idea where to get started. I was confused. I had a very stubborn puppy. He was bored. He was chewing on my furniture. He was going crazy. So at first I was like regretting the decision, and I didn't know what to do. So what do you do? Basically, the same situation as a developer. When you go onto the documentation, or when you go on to looking for developing apps for teams, you probably there is like probably a 70% chance of you thinking, okay, where do I really start? I mean, there are so many things thrown at your way. How do I best place myself as a learner? How to get started on these things? So first thing first, I'll tell you this one tip is, you need to understand what you're dealing with. You need to understand what teams can offer as what you can do to extend teams, what as a developer you can develop capabilities around it. So you need to understand that aspect. Same as my case, I needed to understand the personality of the dog. I've never had a border collie before. I probably have like very simpler breeds, but not a dog that has so much of personality and energy. So I needed to understand what he is. So similarly, we need to understand what capabilities we can build around Teams app as a developer. So that is what you will be doing. So you need to understand the personality of your pet. They're really cute pictures I found online. So yeah, I just couldn't stop myself, but I've been doing a lot of research on these cute cat pictures and dog pictures. So next step is basically gaining that trust and confidence. So as a developer, every single day, you need to create that kind of confidence to go up to a client and to suggest things when they say they want a certain functionality in Teams. They want their apps to be better used, make their users use them more often and stay in context and things like that. You need to have that kind of a confidence where you go in and say, hey, I can suggest this to a client. I need to trust my process, trust my knowledge around these things. So that is the next step. You need to work to gain trust of a dog or a pet and create confidence in both the parties, not just the owner or the leader, but also the person you're selling your product to, or the pet or the person you're training, not a person, dog or a cat. So that's the next
They're
step.
people.
So yeah, I know, they are like people. My dog especially, I know in my head that he's a human trapped in a dog body. So next thing is the key. You need to understand, you need to know the tools, you need to know the techniques. And so the first thing I did when I understood the personality of the dog is I went onto YouTube and searched for videos around, techniques, tricks that I can, start teaching my dog. And I just thought maybe I could do this on my own. I started doing tricks that are completely useless for me, but I just thought, oh, that's a fancy thing. Roll over, play dead. Wow, this is great. But again, I was probably not doing it the right way, because there are tools, there are techniques, but you need to start on a path, on a journey, to make sure that your life with your pet is fulfilling and you are actually using these commands for good reason, like a good recall or a good sit command. These are just lifesavers, right? So we do have tools and techniques, but we need to place them in the right order. You need to get some sort of a help. And for that help, you would get, you need to go to an expert. And probably the experts, we're just pretending to be experts here today. Me and Barna, we're going to be that expert helping you to place these tools and techniques in the right way, so that you can be successful in gaining that trust and the confidence that you need to develop apps for teams, and then even talk to your clients about it. So this all together, this is what we're going to be making this session all about. So when you walk out of your table, unfortunately, when you walk out of your room, you probably are going to have all these things in your head, at least in a concept level. You'll have you understand what Teams is, the personality or the capabilities that you can build around it. You would know the tools and techniques, but you also would know how to place these tools and techniques and patterns and practices into the right mode so that you can be successful in building the apps. Now, enough talking with me. I mean, I have been, I think this sort of makes sense with how we're going, but we do have more of dogs and cats coming. But before you see all that, let me just hand it over to Barnum, because he's got some real good insights on Teams. Over to you, Barnum.
Sure. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah.
So you can click through to the next one more click. Rabia, not on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, this is just a case in point of, hey, we've all sort of seen something happen over the past almost 2 years that has changed the way we work. And Teams, when we were sort of in 2019, it was relatively sort of nascent in its user base, and suddenly, with the work, being moving into remote areas and into your home pretty much, it became sort of the operating system for all of us. So if you go to the next slide, it's been a great honor and responsibility for us to be able to help, at this point in time, over 145 million daily active users who basically get their job done on Teams. So it is, it's grown over 10 or 15x in the last, year and a half, 2 years. And that has been, the demand has kind of made us realize how crucial it is to be able to provide, a very conducive environment, similar to your work, as you work in an office, collaboration happens and all of that. How do we kind of create that kind of an experience, even when unfortunately we're further away from each other? So, Rabia talked about understanding a platform, and this is basically just to, what's happening on the screen right now is there's a lot of stuff that's going on with Teams, and that's because we've realized that the way we work has been changing. Rabia, the video stopped playing, so if you can
Okay.
start.
Yeah, something. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so the Teams initially just began as a chat platform, then it became a video platform, and it's now becoming an all-up collaboration platform with net new features. And what we've now realized, and it was always the intention, is that it's not just us as Microsoft who will make Teams, a better platform for everybody. It is you, the developer who uses Teams and who knows how to make it extend to your own business context or the context of your customer. That's what is going to make Teams truly a collaboration, a rich collaboration platform, well beyond just a screen share, well beyond just a video call platform, to have contextual chat, to have AI embedded. So these are things that we're really investing in. And that's why, now we wanted to just give you an insight into how to build some extensible apps for Microsoft Teams. So
yeah, that's right.
Let's go to the next slide, Rabia. And I want to again hand it back over to.
Just a second.
Yeah, you can just do the right button. Yep. So basically, what is the Teams developer platform? And we all know that it's a great sort of video and audio and chat and collaboration platform. But for developers, with 145 million people using this as their primary screen throughout the day, getting their work done, that is an unbelievable screen real estate that exists all over the world. So that's 145 million people, 8 hours or more a day, sitting in front of the screen, getting work done. How could we, as devs, extend that experience so that we can reduce the amount of time they need to be in front of the screen and increase the amount of productivity they have from the amount of time that they have in front of it, right? So just to understand the Teams developer platform. So back to you, Rabia.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So even when I joined it virtually. When I joined Microsoft, I was doing everything in Teams. The things were being laid out, like the whole onboarding process was completely different. But having Teams was so much easier and better. So there are so many things that you could do, your day-to-day processes that you could bring into Teams. So before we get into all that, we need to understand, again, like what is the Teams developer platform, what you can extend. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you some of these, extensibility that you could do in Teams app. So basically, you could have apps that could send messages and notifications. Now, we all live in a world where there are like tons of notifications, but notifications are something that can draw attention into specific tasks or specific things. So you can build capabilities around sending messages and notifications inside Teams. You could also create rich messages and UI capabilities or components inside Teams. Like, you're not just creating a service where you can send text, chat, or anything, but you're making it more richer, where you can have actions, you can have buttons, you can have feedback forms and things like that built into your Teams app so that, users can, again, like Barnum said, they don't need to switch context and they don't need to go to multiple sites or multiple portals. They can just be there and get their work done. And you could also build searches and actions. Basically, searching for stuff online is probably the most we spend time on. So if you want to search for that new, HR policy around stuff, or if you want to search up for that Azure DevOps task that you're looking for, what if you can bring all that into Teams so you don't have to open up like 100 different tabs when you're working? You can bring that in a Teams app. And you will be seeing one of the search-based apps in our demo today. And the next one is full screen canvas. So you can also have your information or that you want to display in a bigger canvas displayed out to you within the Teams. So you can do that as well. And we would probably name these again in the next slide. We will tell you what you have to, what capability you have to build for getting all these features. So you can also do in-meeting previews. So that's a really good one, because you're in a meeting and you want to bring up some information and you want to do some action around some meeting decisions that have happened. Then what would you do? Well, you would also utilize apps that are running within a meeting to do all that. So these are the different capabilities, I would say, that you can, or extensibility that you can go for in Teams app dev platform. So to put these into a more Teams jargon, if you want to know, what you want to build for Teams. Yeah, sorry.
We have a question that I want to just address just before you go to the next slide.
Sure.
Because it's probably an app. By the way, we will do questions later on as well. It's just Mike Zhang has asked, so I'm new to Microsoft Teams, but how is the Teams platform different than other platforms for group chat, such as Slack, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger?
Well, that's a good question, but this is, I would like to say that Microsoft Teams is inside the Microsoft 365 platform. So if you want to have a collaborative experience where you have multiple features, like you want your files to be for, the files that you would go look in SharePoint or in Search or in Bing or anywhere, if you want to bring all that experience, all that goodness that Microsoft 365 platform offers, then you would go for Microsoft Teams, because I'll just give you a very simple example. That is, how many providers are there out there right now who would open up a Word document within their own applications? Teams does that. Teams would go ahead and pull that information and show it in a browser view within Teams, all your Word documents, your Excel sheets, and things like that. And you can start a conversation around a document. You can open up a conversation around these things. This is a very simple example, but very powerful. How collaborative you can get.
I think to me, look, we don't just use Teams. By the way, all of us use all of these platforms. What Teams provides is in addition to a lot of these platforms. So obviously the basic expected features of running a live call, doing some streaming, running a public event, doing chat, persistent chat, meeting based chat, just screen share, all of that, basic things like that. All the features that you can create a superset of are probably already there in Teams. People use it every single day, which is why it is as popular a work and collaboration platform. But as Rabia said, and I'll cover a little bit more of that platform in a couple of slides, so I'll go to that and we'll talk about the Graph and the M365 platform a little bit more without going into too much detail. But basically, think of it this way, it's not just a single app. Teams is not an app. Teams is actually a platform that happens to have all the features of an expected collaboration app, plus then takes it further and makes it a rich integration app platform as well, so that you can bring in other apps, take Teams to other apps, bring other apps into Teams, take context from Teams into other apps, bring context from other apps into Teams, and then bot integrations and sort of workflow integrations, approvals, being able to go into a Teams chat and approve a purchase order directly in the chat itself that goes into a system of record system. There's a lot of things that really are sort of contextually driven that makes Teams bigger than just being a single app. That's what I would say. And the expected features of a typical chat and collaboration app are already there.
Yes, exactly what Barnum said. So it offers a bit more than these platforms that we mentioned before. So that's where at least I myself see Teams, like it will be the future of collaboration. Cool. So now that we know a basic idea of what you can extend in Teams, let's just put names on these things so you can go ahead and start developing stuff, or call them capabilities, basically. So let's just go to the next slide. So they are tabs in Teams. You can create custom tabs. Now, tabs are like the full canvas where you can display information. So you can think of it like an iframe that would probably show you a dashboard, or probably show you something that you want, that relevant information that you want to show within your Teams. You have bots. Bots are basically virtual assistants. I would say you can think of bots as these very useful integrations that will bring information to you, or even actions. Turn your actions into useful information, save it somewhere, and do all that work for you without taking up space. So you only use bots when you invoke them. And you have messaging extensions. Now, the simplest way I like to explain messaging extensions are when you open up any chat service, or a Twitter or anywhere, you open up the app called Giphy. if you are like me, I love to reply to my teammates in GIFs. So if you use Giphy, you know that it's actually a messaging extension. It's a search-based messaging extension, fancy words, but yeah, that's how you extend how you type messages into the compose area. So we can build messaging extensions for teams, and messaging extension will be one of the demo in today's talk. And you can also have webhooks. Now, webhooks are a bit more techy, I would say. They're like subscriptions. You subscribe to a particular feature, but for example, you have a portal and you have news coming in, like news articles coming in. So every time there's a new news post, you could subscribe to these webhooks and it would bring back that notification back into Teams. So it's pretty useful stuff. So these are the different capabilities that you can build within Teams now. All right, so now we have a basic understanding of the capabilities. Now, over to you, Barnum. I think you have some very, very interesting stuff to talk about now around M365 platform. So I'll just go to the next slide now for you.
Sure. So I actually wanted to, if you could click ahead, Rabia.
Yeah.
So basically, I just wanted to really show everybody a complicated slide to explain a simple idea. So hopefully you're excited about it. So if we go to the next slide. So I just wanted to actually just build on what we said to Mike's. Mike, thanks for the question, by the way, on your question about what's different. So the Microsoft 365 platform is a lot bigger than just a chat or just a call or anything like that. Think of it, you know, pretty much every major organization in the world, may it be government or may it be public, may it be a private organization, typically has a Microsoft 365 instance of their own, and they utilize it every single day to get their business to happen. Creating documents in Word, doing spreadsheets. The world's economy pretty much runs on Excel. I hate to admit it, but it does. But and then things like Outlook and email. So this is the amount of actual contextual information exchange and collaboration. Also, that was an Easter egg for the word exchange in there, but that actually happens on the platform is humongous. Pretty much the beating heart of so many organizations in the world in terms of structured and unstructured collaboration. So, and Teams is now becoming a central platform entity within that ecosphere of the Microsoft 365 platform and the broader cloud in general, because it is becoming the more dominant screen that people look at and people interact with. And this is where a lot of the new style of interaction, which is post-email interaction, starts to happen more and more. And that's why the entirety of it is a lot bigger than just a messenger or something like that. The other part I really want to say at this point is, without going too deep into the concept, the idea of identity, security, and access to data is central to all of this. Having your identity at work, your identity as an employee, as somebody within an organization who has different levels of access and different levels of scope of influence within that organization, is very, very central into the way a company or a department functions. And there are so many things that we do subconsciously, like your presence. If you're on a call thing, your presence indicator goes from green to red. If you're presenting to somebody, it goes to do not disturb. If you're available, it goes back to green, and those kind of things. Plus your working hours, your physical location, what documents did you work on recently? Are these shared documents with your what attachments were on your email that somebody you've shared with also has access to, so those kind of things. All of that connective tissue that really makes these typically discrete software packages work as a platform that makes you able to achieve more at work, get stuff done. is actually available to every developer. I think it's to me, it's one of the most valuable data assets out there on the Microsoft platform or in the cloud in general through the API called the Microsoft Graph API. So again, without going too much into it, if you want to access the connective tissue of the Microsoft 365 platform, bring all of that richness, goodness of identity and presence and entity understanding and attributes and metadata about what is actually going on at work or through this platform. What documents are people working on, and how do I build a software package on top of that? How do I give more experience, more user productivity? Then that's through the Microsoft Graph API, which is central to building some of these things. So just wanted to address that and move on.
Yeah, it's pretty important, right? Because you build an app, you also want it to be smart. You want it to be intelligent. You just don't want your app to just do the things. It has to probably understand what you need, like what you're looking for and where you want to go and things like that. So it's very important to tie it up with some useful data, like these insights that Microsoft Graph provides. Cool. Awesome. On to the next slide. So I think it's your told you. It's complicated. It's really cool. I like that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and talk more about these capabilities that I talked earlier. But we do have doodles. I'm not sure if you've got the time because we already have an hour. So let's just run through this and understand what tabs are, where you would use in an enterprise level. So I've explained already what tabs are. Tabs are like basically the canvas where you would display information. These doodles were actually done by our colleague Tomomi. So thanks for that, Tomomi. It's pretty fun. So you can see here a team clock with showing different time zones because we're all in our team, we're all in different places, especially me and Barnum in Australia, but the rest of the team are like everywhere. So we probably need something like that team clock as a tab in our teams. And then if you go into a more enterprisey solution, you can see here some dashboards, some nice looking data being embedded into this tab. So you can build all these and make use of the real estate that's available as a whole. But I would also like to show you the reasons why you should go for a tab. So all these different capabilities, the reasons why you should use a tab or a bot and things like that. So for tabs, if you already have a web app that's up and running and you want to bring that into Teams and show information, show dashboards, display a lot of information, and even if you have SharePoint and you want to extend these web parts that you have in SharePoint into Teams, then tabs are the right thing for you. And another thing I would like to say here is you could have tabs created from scratch as well. So, even if you want to create some sort of a dashboard, then you can use tabs as well. So next step is bots. Bots, like I mentioned, they're interactive, they're smart, they understand and they convert whatever message you're sending, and that convert that into some sort of an action, reply back with information or with cards or with forms and things like that. So in a more enterprise level, you can see here a very good example is FAQs, help desk, and things like that. That is a best scenario I can show here where bots can help you. Like you could just start a conversation and the bot would kick off sort of like a workflow, or it can get information from you. And then based on your feedback or your action, it can go ahead and kick off another process or save that data into some database. So bots are for you if you are familiar with chatbot development and you would like to have some sort of an interactive app. If you want to create a virtual assistant, I've got the picture of Clippy here, but I'm not sure if everyone here knows about Clippy. Depends, if you've used Word or Office stuff before. Also, if you want to have same experience on mobile, like interactions and things like that, then you would go for bot. And bots have very useful scenarios, and I can show you some of the scenarios where clients use pretty often use a bot for, like user onboarding, for approvals, for help desk and FAQ sort of stuff. Bots are pretty useful. Next up, the capability that we discussed was messaging extension. Like I said, there are messaging extensions are basically something that extends your messaging area. You want to add some extra information. You want to put a nice card in your message. You know, if it's a plain text, you probably have more people put more attention into your message if it's a nice, rich message. So there are two types of messaging extensions in the Teams Dev platform. One is the search-based messaging extension. This is probably the most popular one because you can basically integrate a different system into Teams and surface that information within Teams and then share it with your team. So it's pretty useful, and there are lots of scenarios you can think of. One is probably like stock, or you could think of, even, some restaurants and things. But in a real life situation, you probably would be syncing up with your workspace, maybe your Azure DevOps, or maybe another a system that you want to integrate, like maybe a HR system, where you want to find some information. You don't have to open up another, and sign into another system to get that information. What if you can bring that information into Teams and you can start searching for it, doing actions on it within Teams? And you would use a search-based messaging extension like this.
Yeah, we've seen some really interesting ones where people have even, which have like building management systems and stuff like that. People have done it with like meeting rooms and stuff. So there's like, depending on your use case and scenario, there could be, sky's the limit. There's actually, in fact, now I would say space is the limit. There is no limit. But if you have billions of dollar signs, yes, there is no limit. But even if you don't have them, if you have billions of dev signs, then yes, you can actually go and build these extensions. We've done some fun things with smart lighting inside a meeting room and stuff like that as well, if you want to get that fancy.
Yeah, exactly. And I find a search-based messaging extensions pretty useful, and very common as well. When clients or someone who wants to bring in information, they would first think of this because it's so easy to find stuff if you're just in one place, So yeah, it's a pretty cool capability as well. And there's another type of messaging extension which are called actions. So action-based messaging extension, what basically is, so if you're actually liking a message, probably it's an action on a message. So you could say that, okay, you're in a team and you're posting some task within your teammates, like, oh, I need to get this done, and probably I should be doing this by tomorrow or something. But what if you want to turn that into, take that message, because you've posted it and you had a chat with your teammates, but you want to make that into an action where it goes into someplace else. You put that in a database, you put that in DevOps, or you put that in a to-do task or things like that. What if you want to use that message and do something about it? So this is where messaging extensions as actions come in handy. And there's a very cool scenario that I can show you, but you'll get the idea of other scenarios from this scenario. So here you can see Tomomi. What she's doing is she's using a messaging extension, action-based one, and turning a message that she wrote into a Morse code. So the Morse code of Hello World is what you see on screen right now. So imagine other things you could do with it. So you could take a message and put it somewhere in your database, or some action that you would like to follow up and things like that. You could do that if you create a messaging extension action based one. So yeah, these are some of the messaging extensions. And like I said, they are perfect for you if you want a quick lookup. And this is probably where it's so useful, like searching and surfacing the information. You want to have conversation and interaction. You want to share a message to another team, things like that. you want a command-like operation. So these are basically, I would not go into webhooks right now because these are probably the capabilities we will be focusing on today. Remember, setting the base is what we're going to do now. So we will show you the tools and things like that you need to get started on these capabilities. Now,
so Rabia, are you saying we're going to finally go to Visual Studio Code?
No, not yet. We need to still know what you need. So in terms of training your dog, you probably need lots of treats, or you need a toy that he or she absolutely loves. Or, you basically have to find some sort of a reward system, right? So the things that you need before you get onto the tools, so the prerequisites, before getting onto the tricks itself, you need to have three important things. So Barnum, these are the things that you absolutely have to have before you jump into the Teams dev platform. You need to have Nodejs. So these projects that we are showing you today, especially the ones with Visual Studio Code extension, you need Node.js. You can also develop apps in .NET and things like that. But for today's session and focusing more on the tools, Teams Toolkit, you need the Node.js. You need an M365 account. So this is important. If you haven't signed up yet, please do sign up. We would provide you the link so you can get yourself a developer tenant you can get it for 90 days in the beginning, and then if you keep on developing apps, it would keep on renewing it for you. So this is what you need, an account, preferably
if you need a sandbox to do things in, which we provide it for free. This is not it's just, you just sign up to the developer program and you get your own tenant. And as long as you're actually actively using and developing on it, it'll just continue.
Exactly. So yeah, that's super important because you probably need your teams running in a tenant. Then you also need Azure, so an Azure account and a subscription. If you want to deploy or host your application that you're building, you need Azure. So these are the three things I would say, go ahead and have it before you start using the tools that we're discussing today.
And again, just to reiterate, on Azure as well, you can go and have a free subscription on Azure. And if you're already part of the Microsoft Developer Networks and different developer programs like Visual Studio already, you probably already have access to Azure. But in general, you can actually use the Azure free tier for this.
Exactly. Yeah, cool stuff. And now for the tools, we have Teams Toolkit, which is our Visual Studio Code extension, and you also get it for Visual Studio. There's also a CLI for Teams Toolkit, but today we will be showing you the extension so that we can get started creating apps using a wizard. And this is from Microsoft. And you also have another CLI, which probably is the first version that created scaffolded Teams app, which is the Yeoman generator. This is a community project that is open source. So yeah, it's another different way of creating a Teams app from scratch. You can also create a Teams app using Developer Portal, which is a UI-based Teams portal that you can go to and create apps. What it does is create the manifest. So I have to explain to you what manifest is. So let me just before I jump into the demo, I'll explain to you quick few seconds on what manifest is. So basically what manifest is Barnum. So it's like you have your application, you build your application and you host it in the cloud. That's a separate thing. That is not your Teams app. You are building stuff for Teams, yes. But your Teams app basically is a manifest file that has a JSON, which holds every piece together. And then you have two other icons, like the icons you would have in these Teams app client that you can see. So these three files basically is your Teams app. So your application lives somewhere, your web service or your whatever is hosted is somewhere else, and you have your Teams app. So to create this manifest and these two icons, you can use the developer platform as well. The other tools that I mentioned also creates manifest for you on the fly.
So basically, for those of you who are watching, the reality is if you know how to build a web app, you already know how to build a Teams app, especially
Yeah.
a tab app. So it's a manifest, and all of these things are basically a translation layer that you actually don't have to create this from scratch. The tools do it for you.
Exactly.
These basically are the sort of the meta layer that enables teams to understand the fact that this is a Teams app that can, that will run inside Teams and all of that, right? So if you're already familiar building web apps, like 85% of the thing is already done. Now we're just trying to give you a little bit more and of an insight into how to actually go and utilize, let's say, the Teams toolkit, which you're going to go into, to easily sort of create these apps using a favorite code editor like VS Code.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're very close to the end of the session, but we have demos. So let's jump in. So what I'm going to show you next is I'll show you what we're going to develop. So let me open up the Teams client for you now. Okay, so here is Teams. I'm just probably gonna make this a bit bigger. So you've got all these teams here, and I'm in this particular team, and this is my tab. This tab is created.
Also, for those of you who may have noticed, that Rabia just opened Teams on in the web, and they are equal on the web or as the rich client tab as well. So it's just Rabia's just done it for the demo purposes, but regardless, it works both ways.
Exactly. So this is my dev tenant, like the one I said, M365 developer tenant, and I'm logged in as E2 admin. And you can see here that this is a tab. So this is a tab, and we're going to create this using the Visual Studio Code extension in a minute. So you can see here you've got tabs in a tab. So this is just information. This is just static data. So I'm just going to bring up Visual Studio Code and show you. This is basically the structure of that particular app that we saw earlier. So this is what we're going to scaffold now. So what I'll do now is open up a new window of Visual Studio Code and take you from the very first step. So just gonna resize this a bit so I can show you the icon here. So this is the Teams toolkit. Now, how did I get that? I go to extensions and I type Teams toolkit. Yeah, so the first one here, so you can see here Teams Toolkit in preview mode. I already installed it. So if you are not installed, then you will get an install button, and then you can go ahead and install it. It has a very, very nice README as well, so you can understand different ways you can run this, etc. And I already have this installed here. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you how I created that tab that I showed you earlier. I'm logged into my accounts here. And then I will go ahead.
Disclaimer for everyone. The toolkit is still in preview, so there may be changes, some rapid changes before we go GA. But this is it's a work in progress, and we're trying to make it generally available as soon as possible.
Exactly. Yes, so probably these navigations would still be there with maybe minor changes, like Barnum said. So here is what where we're going to click on to create a new project from scratch, the tab that you saw earlier. So I'm going to click on this. So you'll get these options of creating a new Teams app or start from a sample. They have few samples, actually. If you go into these samples, you can see these basic samples that you can get started with. So if you want to have some sort of code to help you, then you can go start from a sample, or you can just create a Teams app from scratch. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new tab from scratch. And these are the capabilities. Remember the ones we discussed before: tabs, bots, and messaging extensions. I'm going to create a tab. So I'm just going to click on this one and click OK. Now, hosting type. So, like I mentioned in that when I was discussing the app manifest and what a Teams app is, I did mention that your web service or your application actually lives in cloud somewhere. So it's hosted somewhere. So you can select whether you want to host your app. If you want to deploy this particular web app or a Teams app, you can choose whether it's hosted in Azure or in SharePoint. SharePoint framework is like, if you create web parts, SPFx web parts, then you get it hosted in SharePoint for free. So you don't have to pay for that kind of a thing. So hosting is completely free with SharePoint framework. Or if you want to have it hosted in Azure, then you can click on Azure. For now, since I'm just going to keep it simple and we're running out of time, so I'm just going to click Azure and proceed. So this is, again, another option. If you want to have any sort of SQL table provisioned along with this, or if you want to use serverless functions in Azure, then you could choose this. But for now, we don't need any of these. But this is useful when you know your app would need it. So I'm going to skip that and click OK. So you can choose JavaScript or TypeScript. So based on your preferences, you can choose any. And then I'm just going to click on TypeScript and select a folder. And I have done these tests before. You can see I've been practicing. And then select the workspace. So that's what I did. And then enter the name. Obviously, this is going to be Hello World number 3. And enter. That's it. So you basically will scaffold that entire application in a second. You can see all that being provisioned out for you here by the Teams Toolkit. So this is the tab, and it's React-based components. If you can see the TSX, you know it. So this is already there now. So if I run this, it is going to go ahead and install this application locally in your Teams tenant, and you would see something. I'm going to switch to Teams, so you will see something like this, and that is how you get things done, like from scratch, using the Visual Studio Code extension. And bear with me, because I would love to show this running just by clicking the Run button, but we have one more demo, which is pretty interesting, and which we promised would have lots of dog and cat pictures. So now that we know that we can create this tab from scratch, or bots or messaging extensions using Visual Studio Code extension, let me open up a project for you and show you this cool demo. I don't want us to run out of time for this. Switching back to this bot. So what I'll do next is, I'll just show you this bot. Oh, bear with me. Yeah, so I have this cool bot, very similar to what you saw earlier. This was also developed and scaffolded out using Teams Toolkit. But you have this is a JavaScript project, and you have like a bot here. So this is a messaging extension, which is called HTTP Cat. So HTTP Cat is basically a project that would bring out, if you put in 404 or 501, it will bring out cat pictures. This is a very fun project that went super viral. So it's developed by our colleague Tomomi. And I will just show you this demo running. This is a messaging extension. So I'll just go ahead and run this project. Let me just open up this tab.
So for the audience, we just showed you before that how to use the toolkit to set up a tab app. So we're just switching context to also show you quickly how to do a bot. And the example is the status cat bot that was built by our colleague Tomomi. And Rabia is just firing that up.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because while that is firing up, I want to talk to you quickly about So I said this is a messaging extension. It's a search-based messaging extension. You search for a HTTP status, and then it brings out some information, right? So what is a bot doing there, right? So Barnum just mentioned so this is a bot. So the thing is, even for messaging extensions, you need a bot. For a bot, you already have a bot. For a messaging extension, for your web service, whatever is providing the information to you in the Compose area, it needs bot to connect with Teams. So Teams, bot in the middle, and then you have your web service, whatever you're calling. So even in a messaging extension, you need a bot to run things for you. This basically is the code. I can take you through the code once I show you how it's working. So let me just go back to Teams now. I've already started this bot. I'm in a chat now, and I already have this installed. So let me just open up. This is the Compose area. I've already tested this before, so you can see that. Oh, it's a cat. It's supposed to be a cat, but I have a dog, but I'll take you through that in a second. HTTP cat is my app. What I'm going to do, I'm going to type in the status message, and it's going to bring in some information. So imagine this is actually your app that you're trying, or your system that you're integrating. It would do the same thing: search for items in DevOps or search for items in a HR portal. It would bring out this information and put that in for you. So here you have a cat who's not found. That's pretty interesting, and I always love this demo. So that's how it works. So now there's cats. Now you must be wondering why I did this with a dog, because obviously I love dogs, and I will show you in code again how a small change can again boost this. I'm changing the API basically just from cats to dogs, and it will still show you these status dogs now. So let me switch over again to the code. Keep your questions coming, so we'll get through that again. So what I'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and change this code. Here you can see this is the main code where all the fun stuff happened, the bot. So what I'll do next is change up the images coming from another online area where you would, instead of the cat, you would have dogs. So again, this was done by people, actual people sitting in and providing these information because they were so inspired by the HTTP status cat. So all I've changed here is this is where, so what happens is whenever there is an activity in your Teams, this is where your bot will redirect the code that is handle Teams messaging extension query. So handling that query that you put in 404, it will come here, it will look for the image, it would embed that image into the Compose area, and that's what's happening in here. So let me just restart this project again, and then we'll give it a try. Switching back to Teams now. Let's see if that worked. So going to the status cat again, but now it will be a dog picture. So come on. Cool. Awesome. So it's, like I said, I just switched over where I'm getting the information from quickly, but I still got the information. I've got a dog who's not found. Obviously, it's still there. It's not found. Yeah, so this basically is the demo, folks. It's so good. I just love this. I just keep doing this again and again. But do have your questions come in to us, and we will try and answer them.
Yeah, and also, as you may have appreciated, this is a short amount of time, so we've just tried to, be as succinct with the bots and tabs. But any questions, Sarah, we're more than happy to address. We do also have Learn modules and stuff that allow you to go a bit deeper. So on Microsoft Learn.
That's right. I'm just going to quickly open up the PowerPoint and show you the slide for the links because they're super useful.
Sarah, anything that we need to address?
Thanks, both. We only just had one question that did come through a while ago from Mario, just saying auto renew ? I'm not sure what that related to.
Oh, is this about, Mario, I think you're probably talking about the auto renewal of the Microsoft Dev program, Microsoft tenant. So basically, you get the free developer tenant for 90 days. But if there are if you've been using it and you are doing some development work on it, automatically the tenant will renew at 90 days. So so you don't have to. But if you haven't really used it, then it's kind of a, the tenant kind of gets deprecated.
Yeah. So there's another question by Mike, whether there is extension with Visual Studio. Yes, we do have that for Visual Studio as well. So it's Visual Studio as well as Visual Studio Code.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's all from questions. So the links you see here in Rabia's slide, I believe we've added these all to our check-in link. Are these the ones that you sent through, Rabia?
Yeah. We probably
great.
have added the graph one recently, so maybe you want to refresh that or add that in.
Yeah, definitely we can do that. So all of these links, but that one graph one, which we will add in, you can check those out on the check-in link with the event code 14175. Also posted the survey link there for everyone, so please do go fill that out. That helps us curate our future content. Thank you very much to Rabia and Barnum for taking this hour today. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone from tuning in. Have a good rest of your afternoon, evening, or morning, or wherever you joined us from, lockdown or no lockdown. We hope to see you back again for another Microsoft Reactor live stream event.
Thanks
so much.
Bye.
Bye.